The Weekly Warp Pipe.
Hey, what's up, my Warp Pipers? Welcome back to another episode of the Weekly Warp Pipe. We're getting into collecting. What's the end game in it? Pretty controversial. And Dave's back with another Name That Quote. He actually stumps me pretty good, so I wonder if you guys are going to get it. And lastly, stay to the end because Wheel of Doom lands on something where we're talking about Nintendo Power. What could it be? All right, guys, sit back, relax, enjoy some nostalgia, and let's jump in the Warp Pipe. I'm blaming you, Keith. My shoulder's killing me.
Just want to give it one little love tap real quick.
So I ended up going my tattoo appointment, and so I got my Samus Screw Attack S here colored in. I had it outlined already, and then he had, because the S is mostly yellow, so he's like, well, I have the yellow out. There's little like Mario stars on the back, and then I ended up getting, there's this Mario coin. He did some shading on, so I have one there, and then this one here hurts so much being on the inside of the arm. And like the next day I had to go to work and work the full 8 hours, and like this just like from moving my arm, like lifting boxes and this and that, like it's driving me crazy. Not so much this, even though it had more color, you're not really moving your shoulder. But currently I feel like I pitched a baseball game and like it's just the muscles are like killing me. And I was like, well, we'll get there. It's been a few days healing up. I did have to bust out and cut one of my shirts here, so this way I don't have like all the I'm using Aqua 4 to keep it moistened, and so it's like cold out, so I do have a hoodie that is also sleeveless because I'm like I want to wear something, but I can't put a jacket on because then it gets all the Aqua 4 on the inside of the sleeve. So
I thought he was just going to tell us where the beach was.
Right? Have you seen my baseball?
Ooh, yeah. But yeah, I'm excited. He said I'll probably come back and got a freaking color in the Metroid up here, which is probably gonna hurt a bunch.
Wow.
He said he'd do the Metroid and then he would do the rupees, and then maybe one session after that to do all the filler in between stuff, like all the color, like we're gonna do space up here, and then it goes into like a night sky for Batman, and we'll see. I don't know. It was maybe 3 hours worth of stuff on and off. I showed up there about 3 o'clock and left a little bit before 6. So not terrible. And we were watching Curb Your Enthusiasm. I don't know if you guys watched that series before.
Yeah.
So I got a couple episodes in on that, which was pretty hilarious.
Should have been watching The Wizard.
Right?
Imagine I'm like, hey, put it on, double duty.
There you go.
Well, what about you, Dave? What have you been up to?
I went to CT GamerCon this past weekend, and it was a total bust. For what they charged, luckily I was able to grab a couple of free tickets because every now and then Mohegan Sun, I spend money at the casino, so they give me some free tickets to some events every now and then. I'll tell you, it was worth the price of admission because I wasn't going to pay like $32 for a Sunday ticket. I was probably done with the whole show in about an hour. It was not that great. It had some good vendors, but I don't know. It was very small, so it was a quick walkthrough. Our buddy Tom Ryan was there. He was set up, so he had his art for sale.
Yeah.
I talked to him a little bit because he's working on a brand new logo for me for the YouTube channel and all the new branding. So that should be done within the next week. He's already sent me a couple of kind of like the process shots, and I'm excited about it. It looks good. I'm not going to spoil it or anything, but maybe we'll debut it or something next week. Should be done. But other than that, I've just been doing some podcast stuff, doing some, trying to build up some video stuff for YouTube. I've come to the decision that I'm going to try to get like 4 or 5 videos kind of done. So that way I could kind of push them a little bit and maybe do like one every week or one every 2 weeks and not feel backed up or not feel like I have to rush stuff out. So we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I've started filming a few things, and yeah, that's about all I've been doing this week. It's been pretty low key. I've been taking a little bit of break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
How about you, Keith?
Let's see here. I watched a whole bunch of like 80s and 90s cartoons that were based on video games. So not ones like it's like DuckTales where we had a Nintendo game based on DuckTales, but these were like actual cartoons that were based on video games, and there's a ton of them from back then. So I need to finish a video on that for next Sunday, this Sunday. Oh, it might be this Sunday. I might be that far behind. Definitely do 5 videos, David. Get a bunch ready. You don't got to worry about it. Otherwise, you're going to be
Oh,
when it comes time for sure. And then I rented a movie. I
Mhm.
watched that. Actually rented it for realsies.
oh,
Oh,
did
Um,
you? Did you
I
really?
did. Legit.
Wow.
like
Yeah.
from a
Wow.
So,
place?
No.
well, from a place. I mean,
A place
the
that's
place was
digitally
Apple,
enhanced.
Okay, okay. Well, I didn't know
but
if
I
I
was
went to a store.
actually able to rent it, like, kinda legitimately, so
Yeah.
got to do that, and then, what'd you guys think of your cameras? Russ, you used your camera new
Oh,
camera the
yeah,
other day, right?
Russ, did you try it out?
So I had to. So my Costco was out of it, and it was supposed to be coming in. So I ended up getting it at the Costco in Waterbury because we were out that way. I swung in, so I picked it up on Saturday. So I literally got home and I couldn't even play with it.
Mhm.
Went to work Sunday, and straight from work Sunday, I went to the tattoo appointment. So I was just like using it there, and I shot very few things. Like on my break, I watched some videos on how to kind of do stuff. Okay, if I hit the remote 3 times, it'll spin the gimbal to selfie mode, and then you can send it back. So I got a few things of me getting tattooed. It was very awkward to try to get like this angle where he was
Mhm.
Yeah,
tattooing. So I couldn't
yeah,
really get good footage of that. So I really haven't got to play with it. I did order. So another thing I noticed, so you guys both got the creator bundles or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine must have been a Costco exclusive because I didn't get the microphone with mine.
nice.
Really?
I got the little tripod thing and the two
Mhm.
extendo battery things, but no microphone.
Hmm. Well, maybe
So
that relates to the price because yours was like what, 500?
500, yeah.
So there you go. That's where they made it up.
So I looked up microphones so I could get
Mhm.
one for 100. And then I was like, or do I get the two? So then if there's two people, but I did look up, it said you can use, I have already the Rode Go 2 wireless microphones. Um, and it will plug in to the DJI pocket with the USB cord. And I ordered for like $12. It's in a little adapter that goes on the handle that gives me
Mhm.
two cold shoe mounts, they're called. So I can slip the like microphone receiver in on it.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
I'll end up using that.
the only downside to that is you won't be able to plug in one of those extra batteries
Um
because those are on
may,
the bottom, right?
the no, I think the device that it like it's open on the bottom and it clips somehow on it.
Oh, I see. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So it clips
Yeah,
over that or something like
right
that.
there. There's a
Yeah.
USB on the battery
Nice.
itself. Yep.
So we'll see. We'll see how it works. I definitely have to play with it because I'm going to Game On Expo in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, and I'll definitely be using it there. So whether I use the attached microphone or just use it, I mean, obviously it's easier to just use the onboard microphone for ease.
Yeah,
So we'll see. You got to
Yeah.
play with it.
I
nice.
think you'll
Yours
be
is
fine with
working good,
one mic
David?
for now. What's that?
Yours is working good?
Dude, the quality is so sharp that sometimes when I watch back the footage, my eyes kind of do like some weird thing, like trying to follow it because it's so sharp and so lifelike. So it's not, you got to play around with the frame rate a little bit for sure, because that could affect how it kind of glides, and if you kind of have to go slow to kind of capture some B-roll footage. But yeah, I mean, it's great. I know that there's a few things that I had to personally adjust. For instance, it wasn't already set to when it goes into vertical format to film in vertical. So I think I had to go in and actually manually change something so the vertical didn't automatically shut it off, but it went into that. But Russ, it's gonna blow your mind.
What are you filming at? Like 4K or
I was filming at 4K, yeah.
okay.
Because when you do vertical, the most it could do is 3K.
Mhm.
and then horizontal, the most you could do is 4K. The one thing that I would suggest you get is on Amazon, I purchased a little holder that goes on my backpack,
Oh,
so
okay.
I could slide it in and then shoot, like, eye view.
Okay.
Nice.
Shoot
So,
me a link.
shooting a little
Yeah.
froggy flip
Ditto.
style. Yeah,
Hmm.
Sounds good.
so it's fun. But you should be able to, on the back screen, just hit a button that automatically flips it around. You shouldn't have to
You
tap.
could, yes. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's either or. So,
yeah, that's all I do. But you're gonna love it. It's mind blowing. It's a way big upgrade from the GoPro for sure.
Right. It's nice
Yeah.
that it's just like subtle too. You don't have like you're just this is all I got, right? I don't have
Yep.
like my phone out, right? Trying to oh look at me, oh look at me, and everyone's looking at you. That's the best part, I think.
I did
I Go ahead.
I say I did watch a few of Keith's videos. I just threw him on, so I probably watched about 10 of your videos and popped in and
Nice.
actually watched them, but I had him on while I was doing some other stuff, and I saw you at the game store hunting in and this and that, and I was like, "Oh, looks
Mhm.
good, looks good."
It
Yeah.
does look good.
No,
It's very
looks
good.
real good.
The one thing that, I have found with the camera itself, and, we're not gonna make this whole podcast about the camera, we'll move on, but I find I have to kind of have one of those extended batteries on because I feel like it's so small with the hand grip
Mhm.
that you need that extender so you're also not interfering your grip um, with the LCD screen.
Right. Just gives you a little bit
So
more.
it gives
Yeah.
you a little bit more. So even if you put the
Nice.
tripod on it, that'll extend it as well. So you just hold it like, you know, you have it down here.
Right.
So as opposed to just this part where you know,
Fair enough.
it's
There'll be
fun.
tired
You're gonna
videos
love it.
coming out.
All the videos. I will
All
say,
the videos.
switch back to some gaming stuff. I just got off live streaming, and we were live streaming Punch Out on NES. So I was going through. I haven't played it in quite some time. We were playing on original hardware, and towards the end of the stream, we actually did a vote, and I switched over and was playing with the NES Advantage controller, and I
Ooh.
actually made it to what's his name there, Great Tiger.
Yeah.
I want to say I made it that far with the
The
NES.
first one or the second one?
But yeah, the first one.
The first one. Okay.
So I was like, oh, I thought I wouldn't even get past this many guys. And we
Nice.
had a little bit of issue when I first started. It was only punching on the right side, and I couldn't dodge at all. And I'm like, what the heck
Okay.
is wrong? I'm like, do I have the cords in wrong? So I adjusted them, and then it worked a little bit. But I might take it apart tomorrow, clean it some, and then maybe do some streams with the NES Advantage. I don't know.
Yeah, why
Nice.
not?
Make it that arcade feel.
Sounds good. You guys ready to get into it?
Yeah, we could probably get into some stuff, right?
All right. Let's get into
Okay, so we're
He
gonna dive into our weekly warp pipe rental, and this week we picked a movie, right? Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, yeah. Let's roll that intro in.
Let's head to the video store and grab a game for the weekend. We have the box art and description to guide us when we're choosing what game to rent. So grab your rental card because this is the Warp Pipe Rental.
What game you rent for the weekend?
Nice. So yeah, this is the first time we did a movie. So we'll switch it up, right? You could go to the video store, you could get games or movies. We got the wizard right here. Fantastic looking box art for sure. I love seeing all the video game art. It kind of looks like a video game strategy guide almost that we see, like how to win at video games, like one of those, like
Yeah.
it.
with all the sprites coming out of it. Fred Savage. Now, was he big off of the Wonder Years at this point, right? So maybe
Yes.
that's why they have
Yeah.
him top
Yeah, for
bill,
sure. Yep.
the name up there, so the kids are going to be like, "Oh, I seen him in that show," and maybe their parents are like, "Yeah, yeah, we watched that show." Like, all right, we'll take you to this.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of names on that cast list that are great. Christian
There
Slater,
is, yeah. Yeah.
uh, what's his name? Bo Bridges, that's Jeff
Yeah.
Bridges' brother,
Okay.
and also Jenny Lewis, who is now a music artist. You know the girl that's in there?
Mm-hmm.
She's a popular music artist now.
Oh,
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
crazy. So really good cast. What'd you think about it, Keith?
Well, I rented it, like, I guess semi-legit rented it off of Apple, right? So I paid for it. I had it for 2 days or however long I had it for. So I watched a bit of it on the first day, and then I finished it yesterday. And it is a giant Nintendo commercial, but sitting down and knowing that and kinda watching it now, I really did enjoy it again as much as I did back in the day. There was some definitely little things that I noticed because as an adult, you're watching it, you're like, "Well, how is he playing all these Nintendo games? Oh, there's 90 some games he needs to play, and they're like at an arcade." And then when you're
Mhm.
watching, you're like, "Oh, it's because they're using like the Play Choice 10 and stuff, right, at these arcades, or playing it differently, or the arcade version of some of them, obviously, right?" But I thought that was really cool. I do enjoy the story behind it. I enjoy the character development. I feel
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
I cared about the characters, and that's a big thing that you don't see as much anymore is just focusing on maybe a smaller cast of characters and making it so you care about them and developing them. But
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's awesome. It's a great movie in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Did you
What about
cry
you
at
guys?
the end?
One single salt
I
shaker
I I cried. I when he was at up on the thing looking at the pictures, and then Bo
In the
Bridges,
dinosaur.
the dad,
Yeah.
yes, and then the dad starts kind of tearing. I think being a dad now, like, it kind of hits home a little bit. So it was, he showed the picture of like the mom who had passed away, and then it was like the last time they were together, and they went to California, and
Mhm.
it got me, man. It got me. It did. I'm gonna admit.
Good
Yeah.
story for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Now, did
So,
you I was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
did you guys see this in the theater when it came out,
Yes,
like, back in the day? You remember seeing
I
it?
did. I did.
I don't remember seeing
Yes,
it in the theater
I
now.
remember going to see it because there must have been something somewhere where I knew that Mario 3 was gonna be in it, and I think that that was the main reason why we went,
Mhm.
because I don't think the Mario 3 was a surprise to me at towards the end when he's at Video Armageddon, and it is great, man. The whole movie is just like, I love when they're calling up the hotline
Right,
and
and he's
they're
got
getting all
the
the
yeah,
tips, and it
he's
made
got
me
the
think about
folder.
something because, that's not cheap, right? So there's a
Right.
couple there's a couple of scenes in there where, okay, so the scene before Jenny Lewis's character starts making all the calls is when her and her friend, she has her friend Spanky,
Yeah, the
the
truck
truck
driver.
driver,
Mhm.
Yeah.
come in and play I don't know, play the roulette or something, or the craps table,
Yeah.
and they win a bunch of money. Literally the next scene, she's making phone calls, and I was like, "Oh, that's where the money's going."
Yeah.
They're making all these phone calls to get all these tips for the tip line. And then one thing I noticed though is she's making phone calls like at the pool, and she's
Okay.
on like a beach chair on a landline phone. And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Where's that phone plugged into?"
This
That
log
cable had
wire.
to be huge,
She's
right?
outside. Yeah. But there's so many I love how it's your typical, you got your villain who has to go out, and he's a hired private investigator that has to go and retrieve Jimmy to come back home. And throughout the movie, he's just getting beat up and beat up and beat up. And so like towards the end of the movie, he's got a black eye, he's scratched, his glasses are broken,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
that whole thing. And uh like Keith said, like all of the video games in the background, I spotted the Play Choice 10 a few times. All the tabletop Ninja Gaiden game. Like I don't know if that's an actual thing, but it's pretty cool. I wore my shirt today in honor,
Nice.
by the way. Uh, but one thing I noticed, and Russ, I sent you the video where we'll listen to it. There's a scene that I noticed where there's a little Easter egg, and I don't know if you guys picked up on it, but when they go to Lucas, and Lucas is putting on the power glove and he's doing his little tappy tap on the buttons,
Okay,
he
okay.
it plays tones.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Russ, can you pull that up? It's a little movie trivia at this point. So pull that clip up and turn that volume up
I will
because
see
I
if you
want
guys
people
can
to
hear
hear it.
this. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right,
And
let's see.
so as soon as he starts tapping,
Power glove.
did you get it?
Boop, beep, boop, boop. Is it something from E.T.?
It's Close Encounters.
Close Encounters. That's what it is. I said some alien movie.
When he goes to the mountain and they're doing the lights on the spaceship,
Yeah,
it's the same
same
tone.
tones. Let's
So
hear it again.
it's the exact same thing. So there's a little
Nice.
Easter
Good
egg for
catch,
you.
David.
How
Yeah,
did you caught that, or you read
I
that
did.
somewhere?
I did.
I wonder if
No.
that's listed anywhere as like an Easter egg. You
Yeah,
heard it
that's
first here on the
it's gotta
weekly
be.
book.
Yeah, right. I mean, I told you guys I'm a movie buff. Like I've seen way too many movies and I memorize all of them. And I remember that's the movie with Richard Dreyfuss, where the aliens come down. They go to the mountain, and he
Right,
starts.
right.
Remember, he carves the
Mashed
mountain in his
potatoes.
mashed potatoes and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
everything. But that is the same tone. Go ahead and look it up. It's the same tone as what Lucas is typing into his Power Glove.
Interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, and it doesn't make sound in real life, so
No,
they just
no.
added it for
Yeah.
dramatic effect or whatever.
And actually, if you watch him closely, there's one extra sound than a button that he pushes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So whoever was
So
sound designs was like, "I'm just putting it in.
right, right.
We'll make it work."
So pretty cool. Um, other than that, dude, I mean, what is there not to say about this movie? It's great. I mean,
Yeah,
it's an adventure movie for kids, but it's also got like the family aspect. And what the one other part that I absolutely like couldn't get over was there's a scene where Christian Slater is working on the truck because like the tires got punched, the truck got rammed, and they need to kind of fix the truck to go and to get Jimmy. They know that he's in California, I believe, at this point. And Bo Bridges' character is just casually in the garage, like thunder thumbing it on the
yeah, yeah.
controller. I'm like,
Right.
dude, your son needs to be rescued. What are you doing
He's getting into it.
playing NES?
Playing
He's
some
playing
Zelda.
Zelda, right? Yeah.
I don't remember what he was playing during that scene, but I know that there was a scene where he played like the Ninja Turtles game, and he was like,
Yeah.
he woke Christian Slater up, and he's like, "Oh, I got the scroll weapon," and he had,
Yeah.
like it was legit, like stuff from Nintendo. So it was great. 90-minute commercial for Nintendo and
Right.
a family friendly movie. So
I will say, I mean, definitely commercial for Nintendo, but even tacked on at the end, it was actually a commercial for Universal Studios because they're at
Mhm.
Universal. That's where the Armageddon takes place, and they jump on the tour backlot tour you would go on. So you're going through and you see like Jaws ride and this and that. So it's like, oh, I want to go to Universal too, like mom and dad, and get a Nintendo. So definitely big push and they knew kids were gonna come out and with their parents, so it's like, okay, they're gonna maybe want a Nintendo, get some Nintendo games, and maybe come to Universal Studios as well. Check it out.
mhm. Yeah, there's a whole big scene on the King Kong ride, which is I
Yeah.
believe it's no longer there anymore.
Right,
Yeah, it's
right.
different now. Now it's I guess in the tunnel that used to spin, the magma tunnel that used to spin. Now it's all like screens in there. And at that there's
Wow,
That's
King
right.
Kong ride, but it's all screens, right?
Yeah,
It's not
wow,
yeah, I did that one.
practical effects anymore.
yeah. But what did you think, Russ?
I mean, fantastic movie for sure. And being a video game, fanatic, it's like you're looking in the background for all this stuff, right? Maybe you're following the story a little bit, but you're like, oh, what game is he playing, or what's on screen there? Like that's the fun part for sure. Um, and it has stellar cast in it too.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that helps drive it home as well. And like we said, bringing the
Absolutely.
parents to it, and you're like, hey, you have some of these people that they recognize, so they're like, perfect.
Yeah.
We'll come out to this for sure.
Again,
And you know
just
who else
like
is in it that I didn't realize was do you remember in Christmas Vacation,
Okay.
one of his it was Clark's coworker that comes in and he's like, "Oh, you get your bonus and all that stuff." Well, anyway, I don't know the actor's name, but he's the
in it?
other he's the other dad who is like running for
Oh,
Congress or something,
yeah.
Oh, okay.
or running for some political thing.
Yeah.
And so he needs to have like a good name on, and he's like trying to get Jimmy to therapy or to figure out what's wrong with him or something, when realistically Jimmy just wanted to have the whole family together, which is like tearjerker right there, man.
And it's got Spider-Man in it too.
It does have Spider-Man in it.
It does have the original Spider-Man. Toby's in it, right?
That's right. Yeah. I love the guy when they go up to sign in for Video Armageddon.
Oh, yeah.
That guy was great.
Where he's like, Ninja Gaiden.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh, and there was confirmation. So if this is a Nintendo movie, they called it Ninja Gaiden. So
Like,
there you go.
Absolutely.
Take it from Nintendo.
Right? So I just watched The Electric State. I think it was on Netflix or something like that. It's a newer one. It's about all these robots. And as I was watching that one, I was like, I don't care about these characters. I felt like there was a couple characters I cared about, but I didn't really care about those characters. So that's why this one really hit home for me when I was watching it. That I was like, man, the character development in this, it's not huge. But again, like you're talking about that villain, the guy that's trying to track him down for money. Like just the scenes that they put in with him and like the father and Christian Slater's character and them interacting makes you not like that guy. And then makes
right.
you
You
feel
really
for
root
those
against him.
characters, right? So like just that little bit of character development in that story, I feel like they really nailed it with this one. I really enjoyed
Well,
that
that's
part of it, right?
from the beginning, Christian Slater and the dad are like screaming at each other. And by the
Yeah.
end of the movie, when they meet up with Fred Savage's character and Bo Bridges, the dad, he is cheering Jimmy on, and Christian Slater says to Fred Savage, he's a changed man. And he's like,
Yeah.
I could see that. So like there's a big story arc with the characters, which is great.
It-
I would say the scariest part of this movie though is this happened twice in the movie that I noticed, is when the villain, I don't know what the guy's name is, but the hired investigator literally picks up Jimmy and tries running off with him.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
straight up kidnapping. Like that was
There are some questionable things that he
yes.
does. Yeah.
Yes. So like
He
I
does
wanted
say
to
that
kind of
he
like
has a letter of custody when he scoops him when they're in Reno and he scoops him up at the arcade and
Mhm.
she yells what she yells.
Right.
He does say
yes.
that he has a letter of custody. So
Yeah.
technically, I think it's not like it's
As bad
obviously
as
a little bit of
it's happening.
kidnapping,
Right.
but it's not
Yeah,
as
however,
not as bad.
he does it again at the
Yeah.
trailer
Yeah.
when he basically goes, they don't show it on camera, but it's assumed that he kind of breaks into the trailer and takes Jimmy.
Mhm.
So, I mean, as a dad, like that was hard to watch.
Yeah.
All right.
But anyway,
What do we think as ratings for the movie out of 10?
Out of
ooh, out
10
of
now.
10.
We're
Ooh,
doing
out
5?
of
I forget what
10.
we're doing. All right, fine. Out
We'll
of
do
5.
10 out of 5. All right.
10 out of 5.
Let's figure it out. I'm gonna give it a 4.5. And the reason I do that is because I watched The Wizard, but the night before I watched The Goonies, and
Ooh.
it wasn't quite up there with The Goonies. So I'm gonna go
Okay.
4.5.
4.5. What's Keith got? He's got the
Can I give it a
VHS.
6? Can I give it a 6?
Wow. Wow.
Oh
I give
wow.
it a 5. It's a solid 5 for me. I think it's a great
Solid
movie.
5.
Cool.
I'll go 4. I'll go not quite top tier, but definitely get some great references. Cool cast and yeah, good one for sure. We'll see what you guys said though. We got some comments. And I think we have a voicemail too, Dave, about
Yes, we
the
do. Yeah.
Wizard, so we could kind of do that early as well.
What did you say? What did you say?
Springfield, let's hear from you.
All right, we'll jump over to our Instagram. You can follow us over there at the Weekly Warp Pipe. Lopez Drummer says, "My first time watching this movie. I love it." Perfect. Ando Gamer. I love this movie. I still own the mini Nintendo Power magazine they handed out for watching it. What?
Whoa, wait a minute. We gotta look that
That's
up.
cool.
I'm
Well,
glad
not
I have.
now, but we'll look it up.
I'm glad I have the Blu-ray so I can relive the memories.
Nice.
And Bell Anthony says, the Power Glove, it's so bad. He was so right.
It's true.
And then we have over on our YouTube community page as well. Let's see this guy here. Mike just says, awesome movie. Colby says, I absolutely love this movie, even if it's a 90-minute advertisement for Nintendo. Fred Savage, who played Corey Woods in the movie, was the star of my favorite television show at the time, The Wonder Years.
Mhm.
I love the simple story and the fact Jimmy barely ever talked, but to say the random California every once in a while was so cool seeing them build up a bankroll and play video games to get to Utah to Los Angeles. Also, this movie has a killer soundtrack. Always love Send Me an Angel by Real Life, the song
Mhm.
that was playing when the kid gets rides from the bikers. Mike just comments, California. T-Belly, what a great time to watch this in the theater. The correct way to say Ninja Gaiden was revealed in this movie. I remember TMNT being played, and nobody can forget the reveal for the most of us. Super Mario Brothers 3. I don't own this movie on disc. Gonna have to see where I can stream it. And Canadian Retro says, just wrapped up watching this. Admittedly, I've never seen it before. It was out of slightly before my time. I'm starting to feel like a retro imposter. I thought the movie was really good. Loved all the references to specific games / arcades. The Mario 3 reveal and competition was epic. Really wholesome plot and ending too. 3.5 out of 5.
Okay.
Hope next week's rental is an NES game now. 50,000 in Double Dragon, anyone? Nice. And
I will
let's
say
see.
that the soundtrack is killer. There is a few New Kids on the Block songs in there. There is a Bobby Brown song that I picked up on. It is a good soundtrack. I'll have to look that up on Spotify, see if anyone made a playlist.
Oh, yeah, that's true. All right, let's see. I'll bring up the voicemail here.
Hey, Warp Pipe. It's your loyal follower on Instagram, Killer Carp, the Wizard. Oh, man. And it's a serious film, and it deserves to be taken seriously. I don't think it's just a piece of nostalgia. I'd like to say that it's a piece of art. It's a film. I think it's a better film than Citizen Kane. You know, I'll come right out and say it. Now, if I could only find where that diner is, where they have the Nintendo TVs built into the tables.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. I don't think it gets any more 1989 than that scene. Fred Savage, Ninja Gaiden, with New Kids on the Block playing in the background. Actually, if you're able to, can you play that clip for me right now?
Yeah. So he gave us a clip here.
Thanks, guys. Long live the Wizard.
Thanks for calling in.
Hey,
Appreciate
Warp
it.
Pipe. It's your loyal follower on Instagram.
There you go.
I had it on loop. My bad. So here's the clip he was talking about with they're at a diner and it's like a tabletop game here with Ninja Gaiden on it.
Look at him. He's making the jump. It's his second time through and he hasn't even taken a hit yet. He's a wizard. So he can play Ninja Gaiden. So what?
Hope we don't get flagged for that.
I know it. Classic clip for sure.
It's great.
I dig it. So if you guys haven't seen The Wizard before, if you didn't get to rent it this weekend, definitely check it out. It's a good one. I guess it's on Blu-ray, so you can get whatever preferred media you want and pick that up. And next week, what are we getting into, Dave?
So next week, guys, we have a special guest that's going to be on the show with us. And we let our guest pick our Warp Pipe rental for next week. So next week, our guest has chosen Bionic Commando on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Heck yeah. That's a good one right there. If you guys haven't played through Bionic Commando before, here's your chance. Rent it for the weekend and let us know your thoughts on that one. Cool, guys. That's it for this week's rental.
You guys ready to get into it?
Nope, not this week, David. I know you're going to bring the heat, and I don't want it.
No,
Let's
not having
go.
fun.
Let's get into it. Name that quote.
Hey, I bet you can't name that quote.
Okay. Are we ready for Name That Quote? You guys have been doing very, very well the past few weeks. I rated these a little higher. I think these are a little
Yeah,
tough.
sure.
Some people have said that I've been taking it easy on you, and some people have said when you haven't gotten it, uh, these guys not watch 80s and 90s movies? So, what are we gonna do? We're gonna try to get through these. I want you guys to get 3 out of 3. And in
Okay, we'll see.
normal fashion, I'm getting frozen. So there we go. It's the same thing every week whenever we get it. I just get so hyped about it. All right. You ready
First
for
round.
number 1? I gave this one a 3 out of 5. And do you guys want the year now or do you want the year after?
I
You
don't know if it
tell me.
matters.
All right. It's from 1982.
All right.
And there is a theme again for these 3 quotes. All right. First one is, when single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by Gelfling hand or else by none.
Some
Name
type of
that
spell.
quote.
Some type of spell for sure.
I gave you the movie in the quote.
Oh, okay.
Any ideas? Or do we need to just play it?
Keeps thinking in long thought.
We gotta have to play it.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
When single shines the triple sun, what was sundered and undone shall be whole, the two made one, by Gelfling hand or else by none.
I mean, even hearing it, and you said they say the name of the movie in the quote. I'm like,
There is a clear giveaway in that
Yeah.
quote that tells you the movie.
is Keith close?
Are you close, Keith?
It's like, David, am I in the right ballpark? It's not the labyrinth, but it's
You are
close to
in the
that?
ballpark.
Oh, I wish I could remember the name. I know the movie. They did a TV series on it after, right?
Yes. Yes,
Oh,
correct.
I
I
don't
just
nothing.
can't. The name is gone. Oh, Dark
You want to hear
Crystal.
the quote?
There.
Wait, what is it?
Dark
What is it?
Crystal.
You got it, Keith. Keith's
Dark
got
Crystal.
it, guys.
Fun for
Wow.
me.
Do you know who said it? I'm not going to deduct your points if you don't know because the character names kind of get lost in
Is
all
it
of it, but
is it Batman Returns?
it is not Batman. The character's name was Jen.
I will say I've never seen I never seen the Dark Crystal or the Labyrinth. All right, I'm saying it now. So
Okay.
maybe add it to a Warpipe rental in the future.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. All right, on to number 2. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 rating. Okay? Here we go. You know, it's very strange. I have been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life. Name that quote. This is from 1987. Talk it out.
Feel like maybe it's got to be some action movie that's like a hitman or something, right?
Okay,
And he's gone good.
possibly. I'm
That
not going to
year,
give anything away.
that year messed me up. We better hear it.
You know, it's very strange. I have been in the revenge business so long. Now that it's over, I don't know what to do with the rest of my life.
I was like, okay, got an accent, and then I see Keith
Keith knows it.
fencing off screen.
Who is it?
I'm gonna swap my hands. This is my good hand. Russ, go ahead. You got it?
I know the movie. I don't know who said it. I'm pretty sure I know it.
All right, so Russ. Keith, do you know the name of the character?
Yes.
Okay, Russ, what's the movie?
The Princess Bride.
Correct. Keith, who's the character?
My name is Enigma. Is it El Enigma Montoya or something like that? That's horribly messed up. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Right? And
Yes.
Achah! Yeah.
Inigo Montoya.
And Neo
He
Montoya.
was
He's got
searching for the the six-fingered man.
Six-fingered man. Yeah.
Yeah. Good job,
Very
guys.
nice.
one.
All right. Last one of the night. Everything that you've wanted, I've done. You asked that the child be taken. I took him. You cowered before me. I was frightening. I have reordered time. I have turned the world upside down, and I have done it all for you. I am exhausted from living up to your expectations. Isn't that generous? Name that quote. 1986.
Nope, I got nothing again on this one. I'm seeing the theme kinda
Better play it.
slightly, so we'll
Okay.
see if it comes up with the actual.
Everything that you wanted, I have done. You asked that the child be taken. I took him. You cowered before me. I was frightening. I have reordered time. I have turned the world upside down, and I have done it all for you. I am exhausted from living up to your expectations. Isn't that generous?
Did I already say this
Nothing,
one once
nothing.
tonight?
Talk it out.
Oh, you
Did
think
I
it's
already
double?
say this
Is
one
it
once
double
tonight?
dipping?
Talk it out, Keith. Talk it out.
Does that sound like David Bowie, Russ?
Maybe, yeah. Honestly, I was the only thing that came to my mind. I thought was Willow, but I feel
Okay.
like
It's a good guess.
we did that last week, and I was like, I don't think he would do it again for the next one.
Well,
but I kind of feel
now
like
I didn't.
it's like a dark fantasy theme going on, or something like that, like fantasy
I
theme.
I didn't hear Eddie Murphy, so I don't think it's the Golden Child. So I'm gonna
Do you
go
want to
with
know something
Labyrinth.
funny that you say that? Because you said that,
Totally the Golden Child.
I was gonna give you guys the Golden Child last week when we did those repeated remember we did the quotes and like a couple of them repeated like the words in it?
Right.
I was gonna do I want the knife. Do you remember that scene from the Golden
That
Child?
movie is so creepy. No, I don't remember that. I
You don't
took
remember
that
that
out
where
of my head.
he's like doing it like a record player. He's like I want the knife,
So creepy.
please. All right, so who is it?
Is it David Bowie in Labyrinth, the Goblin King? Is that what it is?
You are correct.
Ding,
What
ding,
is
ding,
his
ding, ding, ding.
name?
The Goblin King, isn't it?
He has a name.
Oh, Zanzibar.
I like it.
It's not Batman, I'll tell you that.
Dang it. No, I don't remember the name. I do know the name, but I don't remember it.
His name is Jareth.
Yeah.
So, Keith, the big winner tonight. Congratulations, Keith.
Well,
You've
only
had
because Russ hasn't seen either of those ones. So
I
I
lose
had
points
to
myself for that.
I had to step my game up a little bit because normally Russ is carrying me. So
that's
I had
okay though.
to do it one time.
Keith has his day in the sun. Let's go.
Ooh.
Well, congratulations. I now know that we need to make it a little bit more tougher for next week.
Oh God.
And we have a guest
knew I
next week,
shouldn't have.
so there's going to be 3 of you that we're going to have to.
Guessing. Okay. Our powers may combine for the
There we
good.
go.
So we're jumping directly into Rad or Bogus. We're gonna each pick a topic, and then we're gonna have 2 things in each topic, and we'll see which one we keep and which one we throw out because it's bogus. Go ahead, Russ.
Bogus.
Oh yeah.
Get into the
Well,
Rad or Bogus.
I guess I picked TV shows for this one, and I might have made this a little bit difficult for you guys.
Okay. I like it.
All right. These are both great TV shows from the 90s, basically. So
Okay.
Family Matters, Steve Urkel,
Okay.
or Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith.
That is a tough one.
Ooh. Man. Yeah, I probably equally watched those the same, I feel like. I will say you're probably better off with Family Matters. You knew when it got pushed to TGI Fridays, so you're like, Fridays, yes. I didn't really know a schedule of when Fresh Prince was on. I would just watch it when it was on, when it came up. So I feel like that has that going for it there with the decision, possibly.
I have fond memories of Family Matters because it was on TGI Fridays. Every Friday night, my family used to go to my grandmother's house, and we used to watch TGI Friday with my grandma, and so that has a lot of nostalgia for me personally. I have watched Fresh Prince though, even currently. I just watched Fresh Prince a few episodes last week, actually. I would say, I don't know if this is cheating or not. For
We make up the
nostalgia
rules.
reasons, I would pick Family Matters.
Yeah.
But for longevity and what I would still be into watching today
Okay.
would be Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Yeah.
So that's the answer you're getting, Keith.
That's it.
You're not choosing.
Mic drop right there.
That's one of
I found the loophole, guys.
There you go. It's we make our own rules, like Russ said.
Yeah.
Russ, what's your you're picking Family Matters, or what are you picking?
Yeah, I think I would go with Family Matters solely because you would watch it on TJ Friday, so that was your ritual. You'd always see that, and Fresh Prince was just kind of on when I'm flipping through the channels, and I was like, all right, I'll check it out. I mean, they had some heartfelt episodes for sure, some deep stuff. But I don't know. Did I do that? Got any cheese? Gotta love it.
So last I forgot what month it was. It was like last fall or something. I went down to New Jersey with my buddy Cruz and company, and he kind of initiated me into his crew, his toy crew, with a gift. You guys want to see that gift? It's a vintage T-shirt.
Nice.
Urkel Vision.
How cool is that?
That's awesome.
It was only like $20. It was like super cheap for like a vintage tee. So like,
It's awesome.
yeah, it's pretty cool.
Sweet.
I'd
So
have
my
to go
turn?
Family Matters as well.
Oh, you're going Family Matters.
Yeah, Family Matters.
Family
Just
Matters.
because of, I feel like it just was a little. I love Fresh Prince, but Family Matters just hits for me for some reason.
Fair enough.
Sounds good. All right, guys. So for my Rat or Bogus this week, I'm taking a note from our Micro Machines video or segment that we did where we talked about tiny toys. So I'm going to make you guys choose between two tiny toys. They're fairly similar.
Oh boy.
You ready for this one?
All right.
We've got Muscle Men.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Or
Monsters in My Pocket.
I totally forgot. Like, I was like, is he gonna do Mighty Max and this that?
if he was doing Mighty Max, I was picking Polly Pocket. So I'm glad he didn't go that direction.
That'll be a future one. Muscle Man or Monster in My Pocket.
Yeah.
I definitely had both growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Muscle Man, mostly that flesh tone color.
Right.
I think in later renditions, did they get colored ones?
Yeah, there were colored ones. There were purple, blue,
Okay.
orange.
Green.
Yeah, there was quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think I probably had mostly the flesh colored early packs of those. But I do feel with Monster in My Pocket, they were also textured differently.
Yeah, like loose,
smoother or like rubbery. So you get
these
more play
these
out
ones
of
are
it.
a little bit more like stiff, kind of like hard plastic.
Right. So it was a little bit harder to, I don't know, move your guy up like hitting. You just use the full guy and you're fighting like this.
Mhm. But also
okay.
remember, Muscle Men also had the ring that you could battle them in. They also had the championship belt that you could store Muscle Men in.
Okay.
So there was a few more accessories there.
Mm-hmm.
There are I looked this up, guys. There's at least 229 monsters in my pocket, and there is 236 Muscle Men.
Oh, okay. So they kept kind of close at competition
Yeah,
with
so
the
they were
series.
very similar in quantity of characters. What do you think, Keith?
I never owned Monsters in my Pocket, but I
Okay.
had because they came in the Musclemen came in like the garbage cans, right?
Correct.
So like
Yes.
clear
Yep.
garbage cans.
Oh
I
yeah.
had a ton of those of all different
Mhm.
colors. So I'm gonna have to go for nostalgia reasons only. I'm gonna have to go with Muscle for sure.
Okay.
Mhm. And they both had an NES game.
Right. Mm-hmm.
What are you
And I
thinking, Russ? What are you going with?
That is a tough one, but that's why it's rad or bogus, right?
I knew that Russ was going to have a tough time with this specific one because I know he's a Monsters in My Pocket fan, especially of the game.
Real
game is
quick,
really good.
I did also have, for whatever reason, there was tiny ninjas I wanted to add that were
Oh,
similar
okay.
to that, and I had like a tin with everything in there, so it was like Muscle Man, these tiny ninjas, and then my monster in my pockets in there.
And this is
And
a whole topic of tiny toys because you also got army ants,
right,
and then you
right.
got the female version of Muscle Men, which are called cuties.
Oh,
Did you
okay.
guys ever see the termite versions of army ants where they were like they were like little green guys and they had hats and noses? You could put like there was like a saw nose
No.
you could put in. I had a bunch
Oh,
of those. I wish I could find those again. They must have been like super discount toys, but they
Are
were
they
yeah like
knockoffs?
termites. I don't know. I'll have to look it up,
like
but they were
bootlegs or
super
something.
cool
I'm
looking
writing
too.
this down right now. Termites.
Yeah, yeah, they were termites.
All right,
Okay.
rat or bogus. I'll go with monster in my pocket. I feel like it's closer to more nostalgia with me in the posability of like not really posability, the flexibility of them to be able to like fight each other. And I think just being different colors made them
Mhm.
stand out a little bit more being displayed in this and that. So we'll
Okay.
go with that.
I'm going with Muscle Men. I mean, there's no question about that. There will be a Muscle Men uh, video very soon. I'm in the process of working on it. So, Muscle Men for me.
Perfect. All right. On to me. I chose food for my category. So hope you guys are hungry. Growing up, a lot of times I go to my dad's for the weekend, play some Nintendo. Maybe didn't have time to get some food. So we're gonna choose between I got it right here. Lunchables or kid cuisine as a meal. Are you gonna be eating some Lunchables? Or are you gonna be making your own meal with that or the kid
Now,
cuisine with the
Kid Cuisine was the tray that had like the 5-course meal, right?
yeah, and you like would get like a brownie in
Right.
there.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it had. I want to say it had a penguin as its like on the box. I'm not 100% sure on that. I maybe look it up here real quick, but
Yeah, because I
So,
don't think I've ever heard of kid cuisine, so this is
oh
gonna make
yeah,
it
because you're in
real easy for
Canada.
me. Yeah.
That's right. Here, I'll bring up some photos so you guys can see. But you had Lunchables in Canada, right, Keith?
Yeah, we sure did.
so I used to have another brand of it wasn't the Kid Cuisine. It was kind of the I don't know if you would call it like the adult version of it. I forgot the brand that made it. But I used to go crazy for the fried chicken one because the fried chicken one not only had 2 pieces of fried chicken, but they had the brownie, they had
Yeah.
mashed potatoes, and they had corn. That in itself was I would go my dad owned a grocery store when we were kids, and every chance I got, I made sure that I was able to get one of those, uh, what did we call them? We call them like, oh my god,
Like
snack
TV dinners?
TV
Basi
dinners? Yeah, TV
It's
dinners,
similar
yeah.
to that, basically. It's the kid
Yeah,
version of a TV dinner is
yeah.
what you're basically looking at. So these are
With
the
that being said, I'm gonna go with
mhm,
Kid Cuisine because Lunchables is just kind of like the lunch meat that you would, like, take to school, right?
right. Yeah, it would come with either like ham and cheese, something, or like pepperoni and some crackers. So you're building a
Right.
little sandwich. and it might have a little dessert as well. Um, I mean, I'm going with Kid Cuisine as well. As you can see, marketing towards the kids. They got this cool penguin with like a Hawaiian shirt on and a polar bear. Lunchables just very bland packaging, I would say. And this just kind of screams 90s for sure. I definitely
Like,
remember getting these a ton.
we could have had these. I've I've never seen them to my recollection, but they look delicious.
Right?
Keith
Like,
Keith might have been able
sign
to
me up.
bring this to school and using his
Use
microwave.
it in the microwave. I never even got Lunchables. Like, Lunchables was like a treat, and if I saw a kid with Lunchables, I was like, "Ooh, he is high class for sure."
You're not wrong.
Right? I mean, just comparing packaging, I mean,
Yeah.
it does look like, I mean, if you got, because it's made by Oscar Mayer, like it does look like the packaging for an Oscar Mayer bologna. It's got the bright yellow with the red writing and all that. Um, yeah.
So we're all going Lunchables.
Kid Cuisine, you mean?
Oh, Kid Cuisine. Yeah,
Well, Kid
I'm gonna
Cuisine
have to
is
go.
good. Rad.
rad, right. Bogus.
Bogus, baby. Sweet. All right. We're jumping into our main topic this week. It's going to be certainly an interesting one, and we're going to try to tackle it at different angles for sure. I know Dave's got plenty of input. We kind of chatted back and forth, but we're talking about what is the end game to collecting, not just video games, right? We want to
Right.
showcase collecting multiple things, all sorts of different media. What is the end game of that, essentially?
What do you think, Keith? I know
To
you're
have
going
the
for
most
like your set and
awesome
everything, right?
collection ever. That's the end game.
To have the most
Him
awesome
with the
collection.
most awesome collection at the end wins. I don't know.
But what at what point is it the end of the collecting?
I think
Okay.
it's all based on, well, it's always obviously going to be very personal, right? Because everyone's end game or even their journey through collecting is going to be very different. Because, like, I might be collecting something in my journey that will be different than what either of you guys are collecting, even though, we do this podcast together. We have a lot in common. My journey is obviously going to be very different, which makes it so my end game is a lot different. I want to get the NES set. I'd like to go for a Super Nintendo set, dabbling with the thought of Game Boy, but I also want to get back into toy collecting too. I have a lot of the sets of that stuff that I was gunning for already. So I don't know where my end game is going to be, just to the point where I'm happy with filling that nostalgic need, I guess, maybe
Okay.
for me. Anyways, what about you guys?
Yeah, I say it's good to have collecting goals so you can maybe pinpoint an end if you wish to have an end, essentially. So like keeps going for like full NES set, so you stay kind of focused on that, and you're like, okay, I only got X amount of games, so this may be a couple more years or months, however long that's going to take, essentially. And then you're like, what do I do after that? It's definitely tough. I would say, does it have to end? Right? I feel like it's just ongoing. Once you reach that end of whatever goal you set, you make the next goal, right?
Mm,
Like you said,
okay.
I'm gonna go on to this. Well, I completed my NES set. Maybe I want to go get some termites in Army 8.
Absolutely.
Start that there. But
Russ
certainly
is
filling a need, right? That need to
yeah.
go collect, right?
Mhm.
Rather than just going haywire, just going out and you have no direction, right?
Yeah.
Well, Russ, I've noticed like you've kind of really pumped the brakes a little bit on collecting regularly. Um, have you have you kind of gotten towards the end of anything personally?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. I mean, if you guys had followed me on YouTube and seeing earlier videos of like game hunting, going out like that, I've certainly dialed back collecting retro games. It's just very few here and there. The main stuff with NES, it was kind of like, again, similar to Dave. It's like I want ones I had growing up. certain ones I want the box for, so I'll get those. And it definitely changed when I had gotten my SNES Classic. My friend had modded it, and it had all the games available to me there. So then there was no need to get the game to play it. I could easily play it on that. And I have since gotten one of the NES EverDrives, so I can play the games on original hardware and not have the need to go spend, $1,000 to get little Samson to play it. So then collecting
Hmm.
that, it's like, I don't have to. Most of the stuff now that I'm getting is newer gen stuff, whether it's PS5 or PS4 games. I didn't even I got an email and I was like, I totally forgot I ordered this. There's a new Ninja Gaiden game coming out soon. So they did a sale. There was a collection of the Ninja Gaiden Sigma games on PS4.
Hmm.
And I think those came out originally on Xbox and PS3. And I had never played that series, so I was like, I'll grab that. Maybe I'll play that.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you collect other than video games or have collected in the past?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get a lot of the original Goosebump books. I read a bunch of those growing up. And so usually if I go to the thrift store, right, it's easy to scan the books and you can see that spine label and know it's a Goosebump book.
Hmm.
So I'm collecting those. And I was really big into those choose your own adventure books as well. So I've only got maybe 4 or 5 of those. So that's kind of on my mind if I'm going thrift hunting or to a flea market or game convention. I kind of steer more towards some of those stuff than getting the video games. Because the video games, like I said, I have them on
Right.
other devices. It looks okay on the shelf. And it also, too, again, you guys could weigh on in this. What size your space is can really dictate what your collection is. I've only recently moved into a house. I was living with my wife in a condo, and so my game room was the size of a bedroom.
Hmm.
So collecting a bunch of games, I couldn't really display them. Most of my stuff was in boxes. So then
Yeah.
you don't really get that satisfaction of like, oh, I get the games and I put them on the shelf. Mine were like, oh, I got the games. I just put them in the storage bin and maybe I'll see them if I dig them out, or if I got to do a video on it or
Hmm.
something like that. So
Right.
certainly having a larger space and you're like, all right, we can fit more things in here. Let's get more games.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about space. I mean, you know me, like the space that I have down here in this room alone is probably, I want to say it's like 220 square feet. It's not big. And Russ hasn't been down here in quite a while. It's gone through a lot of changes. But as far as the collection goes, I'm very lucky because I have most of my collection is childhood toys and I mean, the video games I had to buy because we only had like 13 video games, when I was a kid. I had also, I should say 13 Nintendo games, and I probably had like 15 or so like Sega Genesis games. But my room here consists of a lot of toys, a lot of VHSs, a lot of posters, and like I said, most of it is from when I was a kid, and a lot of my friends joke to me all the time, and they say, "Oh, you never played with your toys because everything is still so clean and it's really well put together." Um, so as far as like an end game goes, I'm more of like a nostalgia person when it comes to collecting the things that I remember
Hmm.
having or playing with as a kid. Uh, I as far as toys goes, I'm not really collecting things that are outside of what I had growing up. There might be a few little things here and there. For instance, we've been talking about this. I had a few Mad Balls, right? But I've been starting to get more into them because I had a Mad Balls book. I had a head popper. I had a couple of the actual Mad Balls. We had some knockoff ones. We had the weird balls, and so I'm exploring that IP in the collection. But as far as like real Ghostbusters goes, or um, Ninja Turtles or anything like that, I'm
Right.
not really going out and hunting for new things to add to that. So I might find something that's cool here and there. I mean, age probably has a lot to do with it too, right? We get to a point where we're like, okay, we're satisfied with where we're at. I have a lot of stuff in storage, like Russ said, and it's just sitting in boxes. Like, what am I going to do with it? I have like a full bin of amiibos over there that are still sealed.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
do not have any room in here to display those.
yeah.
Why am I attached to those? I don't know. Do I want to just off those and kind of start downsizing the collection? But as far as an end game goes, Keith kind of touched on it where it's um, everyone's going to be different, right? And so I think it's the joy of what you have, uh, not so much like once you're satisfied, but also when you're at a point of it may not be like mentally you're not like saying to yourself, "Oh, I'm satisfied with this." You just kind of get comfortable with what you have,
Hmm.
and then maybe if you see something here and there, you might pick it up. But for me, I'm being very picky at this point with some of the things I'm picking up. So does that mean I'm at an end game? I don't know. Is
Well, it
there
could
no
say
end
co-
game?
collecting habits can change, right?
Yeah.
From how
Correct.
you started.
Mhm.
You got that passion and thrive. And even, with me and Keith being YouTubers and you wanted to film that experience, that kind of keeps the fire going a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm going to go out game hunting and
Yeah.
find stuff. So then you're more
Mhm.
excited to do that. Whereas if maybe you're not capturing it or sharing it with other people,
Right.
it's not as fun.
And
I went
even
to a
that,
show this weekend. So go ahead, Keith.
like that'll change too. I feel like as human beings, we go through cycles in our lives too, right?
Right.
So, like Russ is saying, like you were collecting Nintendo games and you were collecting retro games, and now you don't collect as much anymore. You're more picky. But yeah, a couple years from now, who knows? You might have swung back like that fire might get ignited again.
Right.
Hmm.
We never really can tell the future or what's it holds for any of us, right?
Mhm.
Like I said, I had collected toys. That was what I had done for a long time. I got all the sets of the stuff that I kind of really wanted. And I was like, hey, what's next? And then I sat in that lull for a while and just kind of basked in what I had. And then it's like, you know what? I think I really want to do Nintendo games. So that fire was lit. And now I'm 190 some Nintendo games left. And I do feel myself stumbling a little bit, being like, ugh, like that fire is maybe a little bit out. So it even makes it
Mhm.
hard to do videos because it's like, is it really the fire there right now? You have to kind of ignite it again or dig down and find the reason you wanted to in the first place, right? So
Yeah.
it flips and changes on you and you don't even know what's happening, right?
Well, it
Yeah.
even would say the rising cost and how it
Yeah.
affects your long term goals. So
Mhm.
retro
Yeah.
game collecting is gone up. So now it's like, well, now I got to spend more for these games if I want the complete set.
Right. And to add to what Keith said, as far as like when you go to a show or you go out hunting and stuff, having that fire, right? I went to a show this past weekend and there was a lot of vendors. There was a lot of toys. I wouldn't say there was a lot of vendors. It was a small show, but there was a lot of vendors that had some decent toys and it had some decent video games and collectibles and things like that. I walked away with one comic book, which the only comic books that I'm collecting are number one issues of 80s toy lines or cartoon series.
Okay.
So, for instance, this weekend I was able to pick up the number one issue of He-Man Masters of the Universe. Uh, and so that's kind of like where my comic stuff is. I have bins of comics in the other room that I haven't touched in years. I have like a near complete set of the Mirage Ninja Turtle set. And every day I'm always like, well, what am I doing with this? Why don't I just get rid of this stuff? Um, so I think what Keith said about, going out and hunting, it kind of also is like, well, it kind of thought in my head, knowing that we were doing this topic,
Hmm.
am I close to some kind of an end? Because I'm not really finding anything that I actually want. Or the flip side was, or am I just being very picky because I know I'm going to Chicago in a few weeks to the Chicago Toy Show, which is
You'll
like
find a lot more.
700 vendors on 7 buildings. It's going to be a huge vintage toy show. I don't know.
Like, just because you're not, you're comic collecting or whatever you have been collecting, maybe that, like I said, that fire has gone out a little bit. Like you were saying, like now you're collecting Mad Balls and the offshoots of that and stuff. So if you'd come across a table that had a bunch of that fire would have been there and you would have been excited to collect those, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of the end game depends on where you're steering and where you're navigating to and what your journey really is. If you get to an end game, maybe it's just something else you become interested in. Maybe it's a sport, maybe it's antiquing, maybe it's something like that, and that maybe your end game on collecting one version of something happens, but maybe there's something else that occupies your time, right? You
Right.
never know.
Opens up a new door. Or like
Yeah.
Steve said, maybe something, although I stopped collecting most of the retro games, I'm kind of getting into like the retro tech with the NES. Like I just picked up DIY kits to make your original controllers wireless, and I
Yeah.
ordered a few other like new tech pieces for the NES itself. I just got a new upscaler so then I can play when I live stream. I'm playing on my original NES rather than using the SNES Classic. This way, I could kind of feel like more nostalgic with that. Okay, I'm using
Mm.
the older hardware. Um, and again, last night I sat down. Uh, I had played some games, and I sat down and said, you know what? I got to organize my Nintendo Powers. I got them here on the shelf, just all out of order. So I sat down, went through them, and I had a list on my phone. And I've been meaning to. I wanted to get 1 through 50. I feel like that's like the NES to Super Nintendo era and the ones I remember the most. I do have later ones with like the Wii even, and I'm like, there's no nostalgia for those ones, but maybe if I got them cheap. But I still have some missing issues on there. I'd like to go back with those because it certainly brings me back to the time growing up playing Nintendo, Super Nintendo, flipping through the magazine. Some of them even are super beat up. I had where did I put it? Oh, I put it over the one I pulled out last night because I was like, oh, maybe I'll do some content around Nintendo Power. So I looked
Mhm.
up a issue that was March/April, and it had Ninja Gaiden on the cover of it. And opening it up, it was like almost tearing the pages. Like one of the pages was loose that I had just shoved in there, and it's like,
Mm.
it's like, well, maybe I got to get a replacement one for this one.
Right.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
do you guys see an end game in sight? I mean, Keith, you
Not
said you're
currently. We're still
yeah.
young, right? I would say, right? We still got time to
Yep.
buy a bunch of more crap we don't need.
Right. I don't see an end game for me because I think it's just going to shift for me. Like
Okay.
I've
Right.
shifted once. I think I'll shift. If there is, it'll just be a shift in like a lateral direction to something else, right? Like
Mhm.
Sure.
there's so many toy lines that I'd be interested in digging into. Maybe
Uh-huh.
it'll go that direction once I finish what I'm focused on right now. So I don't know if there's end game for me.
Okay.
Can be expensive.
Why, like, I would say that brings up a good point. I feel like the only way, truthfully, you'd be like, there's an end game. Maybe something with your situation would change financially, where you
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to fund this hobby anymore
Mhm.
of collecting, and then you would just be stuck with what you have and enjoy that. And that's your end game. Hey, it was a good ride up to this point, but I can't really get anything new. Or, I mean, God forbid, maybe you do have to sell the collection to then fund something else more important. So that could be an
Which
end goal.
again happens too, right? Like
Yeah.
you guys both have kids. You get to that point too with those kids that they're maybe getting into a sports or something like that. And you need a little bit of extra scratch for that stuff. Maybe they're more important, obviously, than your collection. And maybe that's the point where you're like, well, I'll sell some of this and fund that, and then I can spend time with them. You never know what
Yeah.
Well,
situation's gonna
Yeah.
if
change,
only
right?
I had that Ninja Turtle scratch, I would sell that
Right.
one to get the scratch.
Oh, that's a rare Ninja Turtle action figure.
It's like a $2,500 figure. It's crazy,
Ooh.
like loose. It's insane. I mean, I would say like the consensus is like I think end game to collecting is kind of far fetched, but like end game to parts of a collection. There's so
Yes.
many different types of
Yeah.
collection. I could say I have a collection of Mad Balls. Could say I have a collection of Nintendo Powers, a collection of NES games. I think for me, I'm pretty close to maybe an end game of NES cartridges because, like Russ said, we have the Super Nintendo Classic that's modded, and I have the games that I would want to play on my original Nintendo on my CRT. But maybe there's like a little Samson I know I'm never going to afford. I could play that fine. I don't need the physical cart for it. So, end game is a lot of different variables. But I would say maybe in
For
some
sure.
I've reached the end game, and maybe in some I'm not quite there yet. But I
Yep.
think as an overall term of end game,
Hmm.
I don't think we're ever gonna stop.
Maybe not. Maybe not. We did reach out to you guys to kind of get your input on it as well. So I'm kind of curious of what you guys had to say about collecting in the end game.
What did you say? What did you say?
Springfield, let's hear from you.
We'll jump over to Instagram.
This was a very popular topic on our social media, I will say.
We got Gingerbeard, the gaming dad, says, I don't see one in sight for myself, as it's the same stuff I have collected all my life and brings back my childhood. The closest thing to a time machine for me.
Very well said.
VHS Crip says, divorce. Everyone knows that. That's the good one. Nintendo Cam. What an interesting question. For me, I want to collect, own, and play games that I missed out on growing up for whatever reason, and have those games available for my kiddos and friends whenever we want.
Mm.
That's cool. So bringing a little bit of your childhood and then passing that down. I can see that.
Yeah, my daughter plays with my Ghostbusters Firehouse
I was going to
from
say,
back in the day.
Gwen was taking a bath today and can't take a bath without some Ninja Turtles in there. So I gave her some of my turtles, threw them in the
Nice.
tub. We got Collectosaurus, or not Collectosaurus, sorry, Gameosaurus. Still a great name. I always care about value, but I never sell. If I were smart, I'd sell off what doesn't matter and keep what does. Focus and upgrade. That is another point. It's like collecting for
Mm.
um, value or how much it is, and almost like an investment wise. Some people can do that. And we got Ties Gaming and Collections. You all have end goals? I've been collecting for the last 3 to 4 years. I missed out on so many games. When I was young, I had to sell my games in order to get the next generation console.
Mm.
Looking back on it, I miss that I don't have that. I want to build up a collection that lets me go back and relive those memories, but not just me, my friends as well. I want them to come over, and if they see a game they remember from their childhood, to pop it in and play. So, really, there is no end in sight, and I'm okay with that. My wife thinks differently.
Russ knows all about like selling off a game system and all of their games for something.
Oh, God.
Do you
I did
remember what
that.
I'm talking about?
I did that twice.
Do you
I
know
do.
this story,
I do know.
Keith?
Can we
No, let's
discuss
hear
that now, or
I mean, you
future
can make
topic.
reference to it. Future topic. It's a good one. It's a doozy.
all right, we'll finish up our comments here. Super Monster Party says there isn't any. It's infinity times 2. Just keep collecting.
There you go.
And then we got some comments on our YouTube community page as well. Let's see. I'll jump over to there. Choop. We got Canadian Retro. The goal of my collection was originally to recollect everything I had as a kid. It has expanded a bit beyond the criteria, but I've also sold childhood games that I don't really have much attachment to. Now I'm on the accessory collecting kick. It
Mm.
seems my end game is constantly changing, and in my opinion, that's part of the fun. Another bald nerd. I think I've always collected something. It all just depends on what cool vintage treasures are more available to run into. Just about everyone in my family collects something, so if I'm not finding things for me, I'm looking out for things for the family. We have a wall in our kitchen that is just vintage licensed Wilton cake pans. While I mainly collect video games, vintage toys, sci fi books, and VHS, other members of the family collect vinyl records, vintage dolls and Barbies, snow globes, vintage clothes, squishmallows,
Mm.
plenty of collecting to go around. If I really had to think about an end game, it'd probably be either if I ever stop enjoying what I collect or when I get super old and don't want my kids to have to deal with all my stuff when I'm gone. We got Ricky says, personally, when I collect, I tend not to stay on one toy line, but then move to another. But one holy grail I got is a US Digimon D3 Digivice. I got it for $65. So I'm not sure.
Is that like a Pokédeck?
I guess it would be similar to something like that in the
Yeah.
Digimon world. We'll see.
Yeah.
Colby from Purchase Blurs Thrifton says, I feel as though this question is a double-edged sword. On one hand, having a goal and sticking with it is one way to look at it. But when it comes to retro collecting, I feel like all bets are off. I'm about 500 deep into the NES library, including third-party titles, and I've always had that wild, unrealistic goal of being able to one day complete it. Things have slowed down collecting for NES dramatically, as I can't really realistically see myself paying $2,000 plus for a little Samson or $15,000 on a stadium event.
Right.
I feel like now I'm adding the titles that I would play and trying to stay away from the pricier garbage titles that, let's face it, only sit on people's shelves. I feel like now with collecting, I may be going for more themed items like my Nintendo Powers, the Super Mario Bros. 3 watch, or video game themed VHS. The market has definitely had an effect on my collecting as well. I can't justify some of the pricing. I guess in conclusion, will I ever stop collecting? Absolutely not. But the current state of things now has certainly changed the trajectory of things for me. Cheers. Thanks, Kobe. Always a good commenter. He always leaves a good story.
Yeah.
We got a few more here. Patty Collector says, I collect keychains, which is a very
Hmm.
broad category of things, so I could collect forever. The end game would be to document as much as I could fit into a book, covering everything from antiques, pop culture, modern souvenirs, etc. I feel like I could let this stuff go if it was all through documented. There are certain end games for particular sets or categories, usually. This is due to price. One example is the set for the Super Mario RPG, which are nearing $100 for a single keychain, and they only came out in Japan. Oh, so it was keychain
Wow.
and
Wow.
Mario RPG. $100 for this little keychain. Wow.
Wow.
Steve V's Man Cave Arcade. I've collected many things over the years: retro games, arcade one-up cabinets, figures, CDs, movies. As of right now, I'm collecting McFarlane live action Batman figures. I'm
Hmm.
a Batman fan and I love all the live action movies. The end game for me is obviously having all the figures from the movies, though it was reported that McFarlane lost the DC license to Mattel and will stop making DC figures next year. I hope to get all the figures I'm looking for before the year is done. If not, I'm hoping Mattel will continue where McFarlane left off, hopefully at the same scale, 7-inch, with the same quality. If Mattel can't deliver, then 2025 will be the end of that collection. That's a good point too. With if you're collecting
Yeah.
a certain thing and then it switches companies,
Right?
now your
Or even just
quality isn't up
slightly
to your standard.
changes.
Right. We got River City Ransom. Currently, try to collect everything that can perfectly fit on my shelves that's already set up in my game room. But when slash if I move, I'll probably have a bigger game room. Then I'll have more to collect. I never want to have so much stuff that it sits in storage or a closet. I collect what I can fit and display, and that's it.
Hmm.
And finally, Mike says, I don't think there's a true end game to collecting. I'm almost out of shelf space for games, but that would not stop me from selling off some games for others I would want.
So, like,
Quite the popular topic.
to talk on what Steve's versus Man Cave was saying, like, I was collecting these, right? These are I was only doing the Transformers the movie collection that Hasbro was doing. And this is what they look like, right? They had this nice
Great
plastic
packaging.
backing on it, great
Yeah.
packaging, right? And then they decided, because we got to get rid of plastic now in this world, right? So instead of having that, now they look like this. Again, good packaging, but I can put my
So
hand in here.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. No. Well, at least
Yeah,
it's a window
we
still.
got rid of that window, right? And some of them, just 1 second here.
Yeah, I will say changing the design on it then affects your urge to get more, essentially.
Went from, here's this Grimlock, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
full like mirror. Yeah,
Cool,
you can see
big
through it.
window, you know, you can see the character. And then they decided, well, we get rid of that plastic, and now we've got
Yeah. Just
Starscream.
nothing.
I can't even
Right,
see the
you
figure,
can't see the figure.
so I'd have to open it to see the figure. So
Looks like a model
Kinda-
kit.
yeah,
It
right.
does.
I kind of just stopped collecting those. So stuff like that will definitely change a person's collection, right? And that might
Right.
be the end of it, right?
Yeah.
Right, because
I see where they're coming from,
you're keeping them in the box, right? If it was someone
right?
else and they're like, oh, I'm going to display them on my shelf, that wouldn't affect them because they're going to open it
Right.
up, display the figure, and you're
Exactly.
like, I can keep going. But
So, like he's saying, if Mattel changes the size of those figures he's been collecting, that
Right.
might be it for him, right? So I
Mhm.
totally see where he's coming from.
sweet. Yeah, certainly a good topic for sure. Um, maybe there isn't an end for some people. Sweet. All right. We do have some voicemails we're gonna jump on. And I think it's only one voicemail from you guys know who, but if you do wanna if you do want to call into the show, you either head over to the weeklywarpipe.com and it has a little call us now right there if you're on mobile. So that could be easy. And you could just save the phone number to your phone. That's 949-682-9277, 949-682 warp.
I keep dreaming about my dream phone.
It's for you.
What's up, my weekly warp pipers? It's your boy, the NES addict Colin, because I got a bone to pick with Mr. David Apuzzo, ranking Cat's Eye at a C. No, honestly, you're right. The movie is, I can't remember if it's 2 short stories or 3 short stories. I will say only one of the stories of the 2 or 3 really got me, and it was the story where the troll lived inside of Drew Barrymore's wall, and the cat saves her from this evil little terrifying troll that I was so scared that lived in my wall as a kid. So I think that portion of the movie just really hit home and really like gave me terrible dreams. So I will be fair enough to say the overall movie as a whole probably legitimately is like a C, maybe a B, but that particular portion of the movie has got to be like an A for me. Like it was just so darn creepy. So I don't really recommend the rest of the movie. I do recommend the part, the short story where Drew Barrymore goes into her house and lives in her wall and tries to steal away her breath. But anyway, it was very cool that you put that on the list. And sorry I didn't call about it last week, but I'm calling about it this week. And so there you go. So yeah, no, that's probably C is honestly probably a fair grade for the movie as a whole. But I think that particular story was probably like an A, brought down by the other 1 to 2. I can't even remember if there's a third story. Anyway, all that being said, guys, hope you have a great day. Take care, and yeah, catch you next time.
Sweet. Yeah. So Jay's commenting about our last episode. We ranked movies from 1985, and he's talking about the movie Cat's Eye. that came
Yeah.
out in 95. I haven't seen it. Jay's brought it up multiple times on the
Right.
podcast. So maybe sometime I could try to get to renting that. We'll see.
And he's making reference that I gave it a D
Rating, yeah, in the ranking.
rating for the ranking on the
So he
tier.
thought maybe a C tier, right?
He was thinking C.
Or a B.
I mean, I
I was
wasn't
thinking maybe B too, and he
I
did
wasn't
push it to
far
an A
off.
for a minute.
He was all over the place.
Nice. I did want to do a quick comment shout out we got in the last video. I thought this was a pretty good one.
Comment shout out.
What did they say?
As on the ranking movies here, I'll jump in and zoom in. We got from another bald nerd says, another fun podcast. You guys should design a fake rental store membership card with fake barcode and all, whether it's like a business card magnet or an actual fake card. That would be cool. And again, that's for the Warp Pipe rentals. So I thought, yeah, I mean, that could certainly, we could do business cards and have that and just have our information on the back with the website and hand those
I
out.
mean, not only that, we could design, I mean, we have the logo, we could design a magnet for people to grab. So
That's true. Yeah.
there's some ideas brewing.
I had the Warp Pipe podcast like logo as a magnet. We had gotten those before. So certainly we can order magnets for the Warp Pipe rental in that blockbuster theme looking there. So yeah,
And
certainly
Russ,
in the future.
also, did you have a text message this week?
That's right. Thanks for reminding me, Dave. Yeah, I did. So you can text in as well to the number if you don't want to leave a voicemail. So we had a text that said, "Hello, my name is Ricky Jr. and I started collecting in 2012. I started collecting wrestling figures and whatever else I could get my hands on. Now, personally, when I collect, I tend not to stay on one toy line, but then move to another one, and it keeps my enjoyment fresh. But one holy grail I got is a US Digimon D3 device I got for $65. Now I'm a vendor at Weeha Vintage and
Oh,
More Marketplace at 25 Talek Road in West Hartford,
yeah.
Connecticut. So, Dave, have you been to that one?
I have not, but I didn't know that I thought it was only food there. So I'll have to go check that out.
Okay. And he did leave a comment on one of the YouTube
Right.
videos. I remember him mentioning that Digimon device. So, hey, appreciate
Well,
you.
I know where I'm going on Friday.
Maybe you'll see David coming out.
Before this episode comes out, I'm going first, guys.
Nice.
All right, guys, with that, we're getting into the Wheel of Doom. You ready to spin it, Russ?
Oh, yeah.
Wheel of Doom.
Sweet. So, Wheel of Doom, essentially, we've got a bunch of topics on a wheel, which I'm going to bring up here. And we're going to spin the wheel, and whatever topic it lands on, then we do a 10-minute discussion on said topic.
Yes.
We
Somewhat controversial.
We'll shuffle up right here. That's good. 4 shuffles. Spin the wheel. What are we chatting about?
And you guys could leave us, your ideas for the wheel as well.
Were gaming magazines like Nintendo Power better than today's online gaming media?
That's a good one.
So growing
That's
up
a
with
good
the
one.
Nintendo, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say off the bat, I don't partake in a lot of online gaming media currently. I guess what would that fall into? Maybe I do.
I mean,
Would that be
YouTube.
like YouTube, Instagram,
Yeah.
TikTok, like watching gaming stuff?
I would say so, yeah.
Would you say? That's where
Now,
you're getting your gaming news from, I guess, right? Rather than magazines.
Yeah.
well, that's the thing with this topic is like, are we talking about modern gaming, or are we talking about finding out like retro stuff on new media?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we could spin it whatever way we want. I feel
Yeah.
we'll do that. It's retro stuff still, but on the current media.
Okay.
Rather than back in the day, we would find out about the retro games through Nintendo Power.
So we spin it as like, oh, would we prefer magazines back in the day, or if we had internet, would we go towards that?
True.
That's an interesting thought. What do you think, Keith?
I feel like, and I guess I was originally looking at it the other direction, being like, back in the day, that was our source for finding out about games in general, right? And
Right.
nowadays, it comes from like a Nintendo Direct or something like that, right? And they're coming up
Yeah.
with, "Ooh,
Right.
this is what's coming out," which makes me think, like, I feel like a Nintendo Power had more information in it than I get from online an online media source now. I feel like there was more work put into it
Okay.
because there had to be.
Right.
And then when I look at that, I look at even commercials, right? Like looking at
Yeah.
a commercial for a game back then compared to a Nintendo Direct where it's just, here's a bunch of gameplay. Doesn't
And
have
then they
like
talk a little bit about it. Yeah.
creativity behind it
Mhm.
as much, right? I know there's really good writers on some of the current online media stuff, but I feel like back in the day they had to try really, really hard to get you to buy the magazine when they're just getting ad revenue from you clicking on a website,
Right.
right?
There's
True.
also I see it as like a physical media versus online source,
Right. Right. That could be totally another
you know, because
topic.
when you look at that, like Nintendo powers are gonna allow us to kind of grab that magazine, read it anywhere we go.
Okay.
Now, you could make the same argument for online stuff, but you know, you're looking at it on a phone, you're not really interacting with it. You're not getting that same adrenaline from like getting, I don't know, just something physical to kind of go at your own pace, maybe, so to speak. Is
It's almost a physical versus digital situation.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. But
Yeah.
also like the commercials back then, I would say are much better than commercials now for video games. You know, you
oh,
talk about
easily.
like, you talk about, you know, I don't know, budget aside, the I mean, we can name any Nintendo one. I mean, for instance, the Mario one where they're all chanting Mario's name, and it was the announcement for, I believe it was Mario 3, and then they zoom out and it's the whole world, and then you see Mario's face.
hmm
Like, you don't get that. Now you just get gameplay. It's kind of generic, and so it's not as
Yeah.
exciting.
It
You know,
shows
that
like a business person with the Switch and how they can go from a train and then play on the
right.
couch, and you're like, okay, I guess, yeah, cool.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we've kind of it's kind of like movies, right? Like Hollywood's starting to run out of ideas and they got to make all these reboots, right? And it's
Right.
kind of the same thing. Like we're kind of running out of ideas and there's no original ideas of. And look, I'm not knocking anybody, but let's just call it for what it is. Those commercials were far superior and much more fun than what they are. I mean, we didn't have CGI, right? So we physically had like the Super Smash Brothers or the Smash Brothers commercial where there were physical people dressed up in costumes as our Nintendo characters beating each other up in a field. Like
Like,
bring that back.
if you can,
True.
Russ, pull up Game Rant. I was just looking over here. Pull up like the Game Rant
Then I just type
website,
in
let's
game
say.
rant
I
website.
think
Sure,
just type
sure.
in Game Rant and see what it
Okay.
comes up with. It should be GR, a green or a gray and
I
orange
gotcha.
logo, GR. And just open up their so like
Yep.
this would be online media, would be similar to say getting a Nintendo Power in the mail. Just click on any of these topics, let's say.
Yeah. We got the new
Right.
Assassin's Creed Shadows
Right.
review
Mhm.
right here.
So when we look at this, we've got some information here. We've got a couple pictures. We've got an ad for some AI. We've got an ad for, what is
There's
that?
so many ads
Health
on this.
supplements.
Go.
So
Oh god, I clicked that one.
looking at
Place this
that
down.
and then looking at, say, a Nintendo Power, right? And I'm gonna
Right.
flip through this Nintendo Power and I've got, oh, here's an ad and it's for the Ultimate Power Trip. It's a video game related ad. And now I've got all these different things in here that I can look at. Vice Project Doom, it's this one. And then we get deeper into it, and we've got more games. We've got comic strips in here. We've got, letters from people writing in. We've got, here's some the best overall games feel like this has so much more energy put into it and coming out of it than what we just saw with 900 ads for everything under the sun.
Companies are just throwing money at a website,
right? Because they don't need to have really amazing information in here. This information could be the same as 5 other websites.
Right.
Because they're making money off all these little pop-up ads everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will say this here would be the one benefit. As I got down to the bottom of the page, you can leave comments, so then you can kind of have this interaction back and forth with people there. But again,
it doesn't beat that interaction on the schoolyard, though.
That's what I was gonna say. You got the Nintendo Power. You're bringing to school. You're reading on the bus. Like, oh, maybe you don't have a subscription, Dave. Oh, what's in this month's Nintendo Power? What new games are coming out? And you're all looking at that, and like, even how Keith said, the ads in the Nintendo Power are actually cool to look at, rather than these like whatever your search engine was. It's pumping those ads out at you. So,
do you guys think that it would be better if the online ads were gaming related? So they kind of made a very specific type of ad for the game website. Would that make it a little bit more manageable so you can kind of click and stay in the same realm?
I think they would get clicked more because I'm not going to click on the supplement ad that we just saw unless you click it like by accident, right? Like, oh, I was scrolling and I clicked it. Now I got to look at like I feel like if it was like, oh, here's an ad for a new game coming out, I would be more inclined to look at it, right?
Right.
But again, they're just getting paid for those ads.
Right.
Why do
It
they
doesn't
have to
have the
work hard?
same charm.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so let's answer the question. What's what was the actual question?
Were gaming magazines like Nintendo Power better than today's online gaming media? Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, let's also add one thing though, because Russ and I subscribe to Nintendo Force magazine, which is essentially a new version of Nintendo Power magazine, and it's $5 a month, and they send you a physical magazine with a poster in the mail.
Yeah.
I would totally read that more. And this isn't, you know, this isn't nostalgia talking. This is, I would rather thumb through that book and see all the pictures and all the articles and all of the, you know, like Keith was opening up the Nintendo Power. It has all of those little, like supplement topics. And I would rather go through that than kind of go diving onto, and let's face it, people's attention spans, in my opinion, and we had this discussion when we were making the website for us,
Yeah.
is like we want it to be concise, to the point, where people could spend 5 to 10 minutes on the website, get their fix, and they're going to move on. It's just, that's just the nature of the beast when it comes to web design and online, reading of articles and whatever. So it's got to be, you got to have it right then and there. And I'm not going to GameRant.com to physically looking at, oh, there, yeah.
No.
So check out the weeklywarpipe.com. But I'm not physically typing in Game Rant. I may see a link from like Facebook or Instagram or another social media that
and that's the only
promote
reason
that
I
article.
found that. I literally
So there you
opened
go.
up my browser and it pre-populates with a bunch of stuff, right? And
Right.
that was just one thing that popped up when I opened it. That's why I suggested. I've never been to that website in my life.
Yeah. So the only website you guys need to be worried about is theweeklywarpipe.com. And there's going to be more stuff added. Russ, why don't you just throw it up there one more time? Just let the people know. Theweeklywarpipe.com. Check it out. It's fun. There's a lot of content on there. And pick and choose what you want to do. It's all right there.
Right. It's as good as a Nintendo Power magazine.
Just digitally.
Nice. All right. That wraps up this week's Weekly Warp Pipe episode. You guys want a reminder for what game we're going to be renting this week for the Warp Pipe rental? That game is Bionic Commando on the NES. So throw that in your NES, give it a go, and let us know your thoughts. Follow us on social media at the Weekly Warp Pipe on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook. This way you can interact with us and leave those comments, which we will then read on the show. Dave, what are we talking about next week?
So next week, guys, we have a special guest that will be in the house. It will be our first special guest since Keith and I joined the Weekly Warp Pipe. It's going to be fun. We're going to go through all the segments. And the topic for next week is kind of a part 2 of this week. This week, we talked about what the end game of collecting is. Next week, we're going to talk about downsizing your collection, how you do it, when do you want to do it, when's the right time. So downsizing your collection with our special guest next week.
Sweet. So tune into that Saturday at 9 a.m. Keith, if people want to follow you doing your personal stuff, where can we do that?
Well, I mean, if you're doing personal stuff, like just I'm everywhere. But if you're looking for me on YouTube, Retro Card Collector, Retro Card Collector on YouTube and on Instagram. I have a new video every Sunday. Hopefully, if I can get this one edited on Saturday.
Nice.
Okay, there.
What are you up to, Dave?
What am I up to? I'm working on that YouTube. We've changed the name. Like I mentioned before, it's now Dave It's Me. It's still at David Apuzzo, so you can still go to that and search for me on there. You can also find me on Instagram. It would be right over here, guys. David.
No, the other. You always post
other side.
Other side.
You always other side. You're
It's
mirrored.
right here, isn't
Other
it?
side.
No.
Other side. You're mirrored.
I'm
There you go.
mirrored?
Yeah.
There you
Okay,
go.
so
Right
I
there.
figured someone's got to tell him every week he points at the
Right.
really?
I mean, I was just gonna
Yes.
let it go.
It shows me here, though.
Nope, it's wrong.
Well, anyway,
there.
guys, it's David.Apuzzo, so find it on the screen wherever it may be, and then put it in your Instagram feed and find me on there. Or you can find me at the Weekly Warp Pipe.
Perfect. And if you guys want to check out my personal stuff, it's at Russ Lyman on YouTube and Instagram. And I have a few other YouTube channels that are on that page. You can scroll all the way down and you'll see the Weekly Warp Pipe on there. Snacky Snack Time. I got a bunch of YouTube channels making content, always doing something. And if you guys are going to Game on Expo, I will be there as a guest and I'll be doing a panel. We'll probably talk more about that next week because it would be closer to the time I'll be headed out there. So,
Oh, I have an announcement.
okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have an announcement. I have to say this because by the time the episode airs for next week, it'll be too late. So I'm announcing it now for you guys. March 29th,
It's a Saturday.
my good friend Cruz is opening up his brand new retro game store in Vernon, Connecticut. So we're going to have a big party. There's going to be a lot of special guests coming in through. So check out his Instagram, Cruz N Retro, for all the details, and it should be a really good time.
Awesome.
A lot of toys, vintage toys, video games. It's like pure nostalgia, just like threw up in a 3,000 square foot building.
Sweet. Check it out. Maybe we'll have the Weekly Warp Pipe on a TV or so. In the
Oh,
store.
he will. He's got a bunch of TVs, and he actually displays all content creators from the area. So he will have us up there.
Excellent.
I know I'm going to be there, so hopefully Russ might be able to make it out. We'll see.
We'll see.
But it's March 29th. Mark it on your calendars.
Perfect. All right, guys.
Whatever that physical media.
Yeah.
Write it
I'm
down.
probably going to write it on a sticky note.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for hanging out with us as always. Thanks for jumping in the Warp Pipe, and we'll see you on the next level.